Quentin Grimes has been on fire as of late, surpassing and making a new career high on Monday in the win over the Houston Rockets.
A win for the tank,
A
baby.
win for the tank, yes. Close to a win-win against the Houston Rockets on Monday. Can he keep it going against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who will be shorthanded tonight? We'll see. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Pregame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365, along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck. I'm Devon Givens. Bree is here, producing as always. Good to see all of you in the chat. We'll get to the Bet365 picks a little bit later, the starters as well. But with this one, starting off tonight with the best team in the NBA, arguably with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Cleveland losing last night. So I think they're records are even as it stands right now at 56-12, both of them, Cleveland and OKC. When you do that, you can rest some guys when you're playing against the 76ers there, Derek, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Some guys.
Jalen Williams, the All-Star. Lou Dort, also out for the game tonight. And I don't know. I know Hartenstein was questionable. Kason Wallace was questionable. And as I take a quick peek at you already have it on the screen there.
All right, so it
We're
was
the injury report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
I mean, there's a lot else. In terms of the
Oh, so Kason Wallace
headliners,
is
you got
out.
it, yeah.
Hartenstein is out. So that just leaves Chet Holmgren and Aaron
Which is
Wiggins.
funny because they spent most of the first half of the season playing without Chet Holmgren.
Exactly. So
No, this one, I'm sorry.
no,
finish.
go for it.
I'm just saying this hurts my soul because like one of the few things we actually have to look forward to for the rest of the season is watching the other team. Yes, there's other things. Quentin Grimes, obviously. Some of these battles of who might or might not have their options pick up next year. That's fun. I want to watch Shai. I want to watch this team and all of its firepower come in and just give me a chance to watch them. And we can't because they're making the right call. They don't need to play all their guys. They're so far up in the standings. This team's so bad, they can probably win this game even without them.
Not a national TV game either.
I will once again point out that a guy in his mid-20s with multiple days off in a row being out for rest is just insane. Like, I get it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't need to suit up for this game for them to win, but you got to figure out something else. Like, make up some kind of tendiopathy or like
Or
the
just
bruise.
go
or
old school Sixers,
contusion.
gastroenteritis.
Yeah, like whatever it has to be. Putting rest on that sheet is just like, you are just spitting in my face.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. It's just
It's
ridiculous.
the ultimate disrespect.
Yeah. So again, 5 starters out. Kason Wallace has started most of the season with those guys in the lineup: Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren back, so he's starting too. But you have your starters out minus Chet Holmgren and they got hit for this recently, Kyle, where they were clipped for the game against the Portland Trailblazers. They still beat the Portland Trailblazers, but sitting those guys out, they got fined. And here we are again. They just basically said, okay, cool. Let's try it another time. Let's get this one done.
Well,
Wow.
Igavini with a good point in the chat. OKC probably would prefer to lose this game.
Yes.
Right?
yes.
They're 12 games up on the 2 seed and they want to get their pick. They probably want to lose this.
Yeah. And
Although, would they not want not that it matters, but would they not want home court in the finals
I don't
if it
think
is,
they're worried about that, honestly. Like, I think they focus more on the West than the overall.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a fair
But it's
point,
not-
but I
it's
think
not
the
nothing.
draft pick is probably it's a
Fair,
fair counter. It's a fair counter.
I'm more in Derek's mindset here, and I do think, as I've said on multiple shows recently, it shows the absurdity of what and when the NBA enforces stuff, right? So the Thunder are not going to go out tonight and take the floor and try to lose the game, right? But on the management level, they are going out tonight and saying, we will do whatever we can to try to allow the Sixers to win this game. We're going to sit all of our guys and I don't blame them, right? Like, they have great incentive to try to give the Sixers a win down the stretch, because if they can add a top 8 pick to what they already have, whether it's a prospect they really like and they, whether it's using that among the many other picks they have to make a consolidation trade in the offseason to add a even bigger piece, or let's say they use let's say the Sixers give them pick number 8. They could take that and some other picks and try to trade up into that top 5 if there's somebody that they really like. So I 100%, I get why the Thunder would load up, so to speak, to try to give the Sixers the best chance here because they want that pick. Why wouldn't you? You're a loaded young team on the rise, and why not try to add to that? Why not try to keep reinforcing that well of young talent that you have? It does just show how insane it is that like the league has fined the Jazz for playing into the incentive structure that the NBA has, right? So I don't know, man. You got to just let teams do what they want to do, and if people don't like it, they cannot show up to games and pay money to go. I don't know how you police this.
I mean, beyond
you don't.
that, I don't think you should. Teams should be in charge of being able to make the right decision for their franchise. That's one of my fundamental things. I understand there's a massive business component, especially with gambling. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that all of this talk has picked up. More and more gambling has become legalized. But I just think anything where teams aren't able to control their own priorities is wrong.
Yeah, well, look, man, this is the last time they played the Sixers. They already defeated the Sixers here in Philadelphia. They get a chance to play them one more time. So controlling their own destiny of adding to the wins for the Sixers to keep them somewhere in that mix to possibly get that pick later on if they were to not have enough luck on lottery night, then it would fall right into their lap and have another chance at one of these talented young players in the draft. So this is where we are. This is where the Sixers season has been. And now you're playing against a team that would like your pick. And they're going to rest guys because they are head and shoulders above the rest of the Western Conference. And only the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Boston has 50 wins, so they're right, not too far from there. But this is where we are. But they did go out there against Portland and blow them out, Kyle. We were talking about a pregame. They blew them out. Yeah. And even though they got fined and all that stuff, they said, here, let's try it all again. And this time against the Sixers, an even worse team, they did blow them out. So these guys are going to go out there and they're going to play hard. They're going to do what they do, the OKC Thunder. I don't know how much the coach Mark is in it and on the whole mix with the front office with Sam Presti, but the players certainly are not. They're going to go out there and they're going to play.
I mean, listen, I think Daigneault is one of the best coaches in the league, or at least he's in one of the best situations. But I think he showed a lot of creativity and ingenuity even before they started to rise, right? So if he wants to try to win this game, I have full belief that he'll figure out some lineup combinations and some things to go and beat up the Sixers. To your point, though, I'm not so sure that Sam Presti and him didn't have a conversation going into tonight's game. One other thing to note here, as we're saying, the Thunder have incentive to lose this game, is that the Sixers have honestly been better since all their guys went down than they were with most of the roster healthy. And why that is a complicated question, right? I think it probably gets into a bunch of different things between motivation at the end of the year, the injuries holding guys back, specifically in the cases of Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid before that. But in the last 7 games, the Sixers have a top half of the NBA offense. They are 13th in offense. They're actually, weirdly enough, between the Cleveland Cavaliers in 14th and the Brooklyn Nets at 12th, which does show you a little bit about how funny small sample sizes are and how things can go a little bit haywire when you're trying to narrow it down to that. But they've looked like a professional basketball team, at least on offense lately. Defensively, still having all kinds of issues. They're near the bottom of the league. We don't expect them to be able to stop teams with no real centers available. Mm-hmm. Tonight, we're going to probably see a lot of Yabusele, and we'll see about Alex Reese at center, or if it's O'Brissy again. I'm going to keep calling him that after learning that that's O'Shea Brissett's online handle. But yeah, like Quentin Grimes has been
hand him the keys, man.
So good as the number one option and leader of this offense that it is dragging everyone else along with him. So with a lot of the Thunder's best players, including some of their best two-way players out tonight, I could see another big Quentin Grimes game coming up here shortly.
Yeah. And besides Grimes, they're making shots.
Yeah.
That helps in a big way, especially in today's NBA, whereas at the start of the season, they just could not buy a bucket from the perimeter. It is to Kyle's point, is sustainable? I certainly am a skeptic. It is, March basketball can be weird, but the one thing that I am fully bought into is the way Quentin is playing and the way that he can elevate himself. He might come back next year as a 4th or 5th option, but Lord knows we are going to have times where your stars are going to be out. The fact that he has shown that he can, ramp up, pick a different, it doesn't matter, I already said it. The fact that he can ramp up his usage the way that he is currently doing so, it's a huge, huge bonus.
People, we have Igavini and Slade calling O'Shea the Brizzler in the chat. So as someone who has an ongoing joke with Adam Aronson over at Philly Voice about the Rizzler, I appreciate any crossover content we can get involving the Rizzler or Rizzler Associates.
Brizzler.
Well, in 17 games with the Sixers, Quentin Grimes is averaging 21 points in the Sixers uniform. With this group, we laid out the numbers the other night of just the games that he's had the last 5, 46, 28, 29, 35, 25 for what he's done in the month of March so far. He is averaging 28.6 points per game for the 76ers since he has had the keys, playing 35 minutes. Nick Nurse talked about shutting down some of the minutes, chopping some of those minutes down for Yabusele, Kelly Oubre. Oubre has been out. Yabusele's missed a game here or there. Quentin Grimes has been available, and he's just been on fire for the month of averaging 28, close to 29 points on the month, and shooting. And this is to what you love also, shooting 41% from 3 on 8 attempts per game, and from
those are just preposterous numbers.
Especially because they're not even like a
those
lot
are
of
the
them
numbers you wanted from Paul George this year.
Right.
And it's not like they're all catch and shoot easy shots. Like, no, those are step backs. Those are off the dribble. Those are tough shots.
And he's getting up 19 shots per contest for the Sixers, making 10 of those, shooting 53.7% from the field in the, 9 games he has played this month. So as we've talked about what he has been able to do, how hot he has been, keeping that hot hand going tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder, he is, and I'll just take people back. I'm older than a lot of people in there, and I used to look at the Daily News, and one of the things was the stats that would be in the back of the Daily News to look at.
I like how we're old. We used to look at the newspaper.
So looking at the newspaper.
I have a follow-up on that.
All right, there were the stats in the back, and it will always be the points, the rebounds, assists, things of that nature, but there will always be field goal percentage. And you would look at it where Shaq is somewhere in that high 60s or mid 60s for the field goal percentage. Rasheed Wallace would be somewhere in the low 60s in the field goal percentage for it. And you'll have that occasional guard in there. But that doesn't happen in today's NBA, especially with a guard shooting 19 times a game where 8 of those are threes, and he's shooting 54% through 9 games. God bless you.
Thank you.
And averaging 28 points. So when you talk about those are not easy shots, these are not all at the rim either. And when he does get to the rim, he's high off the glass. He's got to get it over the extended arms of the defender. These are not easy shots that he's taking all the time.
And there's 2 things, and they can both be true. One, he's playing the best basketball of his career, and it portends very well to his growth as a player and what you can hope for in the next contract.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's shooting the best of his career. It's probably not sustainable, which isn't any slight against him. It's just nobody shoots at this volume, at this percentages, and he's doing it at the exact right time because he's going right into a contract negotiation, and good for him. I'm very excited. I do think this is where a lot of people will ask us and do ask us, is he playing himself out of the Sixers being able to bring him back? Which, again, no, because they can offer literally anything up to a max. But this is where I'm kind of glad that he is a restricted free agent, because there is a point where you go to, all right, the Sixers can match it, but should they? And I think that restricted free agency might prevent that from going to that point. And also, I just think front offices more and more are, will acknowledge small sample size, especially small sample size in March and April. The contract does concern me, but I think it should not increase all that much. But it's perfect time for him. He's going to have a heck of a lot of say in the next contract, and he's hitting it at the exact right time.
Couple of things for me. One, I do think if you zoom out on his whole Sixers tenure, he's shooting 39% from 3, which that's more of a reasonable number to maybe not at the volume.
I was going to say even 39% of that volume is still borderline elite.
At the volume, that's a different story, right? But I think somewhere in that like 38, 39% is probably where you'd say if he gets to that range, you're happy with what he's bringing. So obviously lately, and the last game they played against Houston,
it's just preposterous.
Out of sight, out of mind,
yes.
right? Like you're not expecting that, but it is an example of shooters are streaky, right? JJ Redick's thing was, I'm going to hit the number on the back of the baseball card at the end of the year. It'll be 40%. And so there would be JJ Redick weeks at a time where he's going, 5 for 8 from 3 every night. You're like, man, he might have a career best year. And then he has a week where it's like, I'm shooting 2 for 8 or 0 for 4 or whatever it is. And that's just kind of the nature of being a 3-point shooter, where shots are further away and you're coming off a movement and the difficulty goes, up and down and up and down. It's a bit of a roller coaster. So I think as long as he settles in that type of range, while also bringing some of the other stuff we've seen, the defensive effort, the ability to attack, close out, all that, we'll all be pretty happy. On the subject, Derek's saying, can't believe we're at the point where talking about reading a newspaper and it's like a back in my day thing. So you guys know I watch a lot of Jeopardy, right? So it was either last night or 2 nights ago. Final Jeopardy category was classic TV shows. And
oh boy.
So I want you to brace for this. So in my head, the first things that are coming to mind are like 60s or 50s, right? So I'm thinking like I Love Lucy, Mary Tyler Moore, like whatever.
It's gonna be like
and
Seinfeld.
I don't remember the exact question. I'll look it up after the show. But the answers, and they all guessed the same thing, all got it wrong. Everybody that was on the show guessed MASH. And the actual answer was Cheers. So a show from the 80s is now classic TV, that offends my sensibilities a little bit, but we're getting old.
See, at least Cheers was a little bit like Cheers was something that I knew of because my dad watched. I didn't watch it a ton myself.
Yeah.
We're still about a decade away from like the stuff that we grew up with being classic, and that's going to hit hard. That is going to hit hard.
Well, it is kind of, because when I watch stuff and my daughters are like, I don't want to watch that because it doesn't look clear enough, even though in today's age of 4K and all these different, they digitally do all the enhancements for what they do. Dad, I don't want to watch this because look at the picture and look at what they're wearing. That's so it's kind of classic in that sense of where you get there. But yeah, man, the newspaper, go in the back of the newspaper and check it out overall. So good time. So
the thing I always think about is like classic rock, right? Nirvana at this point is like, I can't even say the Beatles, because I think one of the Beatles' first albums was like the mid 60s. So a Nirvana album right now, or Nirvana's most well-known album, Nevermind,
34
is
years
older
ago.
relative to right now than like Rubber Soul was in 1991, which is goddamn, we're old.
Yes.
not yet.
As Brian Pumper says, we're in boomer talk territory now. None of us are boomers, for the record.
Yeah.
Not even close for that matter.
Not yet. So that's the injury report. We ran through all of that, looking at Quentin Grimes and how important he is and what he has been doing, how hot he has been. You would imagine that he's going to keep it going here tonight against the OKC Thunder. He's done it against everyone else. Why not against the Thunder also, especially with some of their other guys out, Kason Wallace, Lou Dort, some of their better defenders, Jalen Williams as well. Caruso available, so he'll be out there, but he can get some too. Everybody's been getting a piece of whatever Quentin Grimes is doing out there.
I can say it will be interesting to watch him defend Grimes. Like, that'll be a matchup that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so what else are you looking for in this one? Some of the other guys that you're just simply looking at, see, can they keep the hot shooting going? It's a question that we just talk about, guys getting hot. This team has been hot, as Kyle ran over the numbers of the last 7 games with these guys playing, these other players playing hard, playing for their own NBA life, playing for maybe a contract overseas just to get that good film out there. Maybe just simply trying to get into the summer league and get a good invite to a team where they go and hang out with them in Las Vegas to try to lock in that NBA contract. But just can they keep the hot shooting going?
Yeah. No, I really want to watch Justin Edwards. Like, he's the one guy that I think I'm focusing on lately. He had a couple of real nice passing moments the other day. I'd love to see him just, like I said a little while ago, the assertiveness. Like, I just want to see him step out of his comfort zone in a good way, push himself, try to be a little more aggressive, try to be a little more assertive, realize he's one of the most talented players on the team right now that's healthy and playing, and try to ramp up his, gotta pick a different word, try to increase his usage and
ramp
try to
up
increase.
is just in the show
It kills me,
terminology,
kills
and
me.
I hate it, but it is.
Increase his assertiveness and see how much he can grow.
What do you have, 18 last game?
And I think I had like 4 assists.
We barely talked about him for
That's
various
because
reasons.
Quentin Grimes
but,
dropped like a gazillion.
yeah, but had a very nice game
Yeah.
with all the connective stuff we've been talking about, plus some, as Derek said, some nice slash and kick type moments, which I would not say I am expecting that from him moving forward, but every time that we see something new, he is still young enough. They're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see that a couple more times the rest of the year. We're not so, it's not like Andre Drummond where he tries to throw a behind the back pass and we're like, never do that again, Andre. I want to see Justin is still young enough that we want to see him experiment and try to do things that maybe he's not good at, because I still believe he can improve.
The one thing I've liked watching him as of late is where he's no longer just thinking out there on the floor and standing in the corner, maybe slashing a little bit, cutting to get an opportunity to finish at the rim. But the combination dribbles that he's had now where he's gotten to his spots and he liked the pull-up jumper. When he shoots that pull-up mid-range jumper, I think it's going in every time. He just has that touch with him right now when he gets to that specific spot on the floor. So that's one thing. And just the ball handling of having those combo dribbles where he's no longer thinking, it's just instinctive stuff out there for him after playing the amount of games that he has so far for this team. So to see that, the growth in his game, he still has a lot to show as a player for Nick Nurse and to be a part of the rotation even next season. He's now 34 games in with 16 games that he's started. And you'd imagine he's going to start the rest of the way here for this group. He's got a lot of runway here to show some really good things, averaging 8.6 points, and on his three-pointers, he's up to 35%, 34.8% from beyond the three-point line and taking 4 a game for him. So he's been shooting pretty well, doing a lot of good things out there. And you think about what's going on right now where the NCAA tournament is tipping off. You got the 4 games that needs to be played here to make up the final 64 for the tournament. And just kind of goes back to how he didn't have the season that he wanted to have at Kentucky, and it didn't necessarily work out for him. Shepard had his and some of the other guys, but how he just couldn't break through in college. But he comes to the NBA, has an opportunity, unexpected, to play a lot, and he's out there showing out, doing some really good things.
Yeah. No, he's been, every day that goes by, I'm more and more confident he's a rotation piece. And to be able to get that as an undrafted player, and frankly, for him to be doing what he is at this age, I know it's March and a lost season. It's not a lot of pressure, but for him to be able to step in here and be as consistent as he has been, it's really not something to expect from someone that young, that inexperienced, and someone who, quite frankly, had such a down year last year that he felt completely out of the draft. He's really turned his career around.
Want to get to the starters now and see what they got cooking up tonight?
I was trying to, do we need to guess, or is this just
No.
okay. Just a normal starting lineup?
Pull them up, baby.
All right, look at that. Look at the versatile O'Shea Brissett. O'Brizzy.
O'Brizzy.
All right, O'Brizzy. Yabusele at the 5 with O'Brizzy at the 4 in the front court, so
This
he
has
can
got
play.
to be a new starting lineup.
This is a
right?
new starting line because the first starting role that he had was the other day, and now he's starting again this time at the 4. So this would be number 45 for the season.
Yeah, because Yabu was out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So Justin Edwards getting that other front court spot with Jared Butler and Quentin Grimes back in the back court together. No Ricky in the starting lineup tonight. O'Brizzy gets the start over Ricky Council.
Here's an interesting question. Do you think Gershon Yabusele's agent has told him, hey, if they lose their pick, they might have more money to give you? Do you think that's because? Do you think that's?
If his agent's doing his job, then yeah.
Because I wonder if that's become a conversation at some point.
Look, if they get that pick, Gershon's probably he's gone if it requires more than taxpayer mid-level to bring him back. There's just no way. Yeah, he should have. If he hasn't, we should inform him because that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I hope Yabu has a good stretch run anyway, because he's been struggling a little bit. He's been banged up and in and out of the lineup, and he's obviously out there. He's one of the few like veteran role players who's actually still playing games at this point.
And he's the one, like, it's one thing, like Quentin Grimes, with all the star power out, Quentin Grimes gets so much more opportunity. But I think someone like Yabu really needs those stars to play off of, specifically someone like Maxey for that pick and pop. And I think it's been a little tougher for him without them. Brian
Pumper with the super chat here as we talked about the starting lineup. In this case, Pump says, I don't care how refreshing it is to watch I may not say his name.
That is a mouthful, B Pump.
And he was calling us boomers. I can use my phone.
He needs to be benched, period. Sorry, sit your eye down. Pump. He's playing.
He's talking about
drop
Grimes?
30. Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to drop 30 tonight.
Why can't we say his name? Talking about Grimes like he's Voldemort. Like, what's going on here?
Like when we say like he who shall not be named, we talk about like 12, not current
or
12.
25.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he's playing, and he's probably going to play.
People's names I can't say on the show without getting fired. That's who should not be named.
Who's that, Kyle?
You think they might? Let's say they're still.
Recut the mic.
Let's say they're still in the top 6, top 7. You think they would sit them for that final 3-4 games, maybe as they close out the season?
Sit.
Grimes, 3 or 4.
I feel like you can probably do that without pissing off an agent too much. I feel like that's reasonable. Like if they're going to
he's
sit
already
here,
done enough.
Yeah. Well, if you give him a solid month of just putting up insane numbers,
look, you got to have a 35% usage for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Do us a solid and sit down for 3 or 4 games. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
especially because, well, I guess the Bulls game isn't as important anymore because they've lost enough and the Bulls have won enough that game at the end of the year is not quite as meaningful. But that game versus Washington,
Toronto,
that's going to be a tough one to lose. So you gotta go all out.
Yep.
Grimes cannot be playing in that game. Toronto is before that.
Washington is next week?
No, well, there's 2 against Washington.
Well, I know there were 2, but the first one is next week.
First one is the 26th, so next Wednesday.
Next week.
And then the final one is April 9th.
He should not be playing in that one.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like if he plays in the first Washington game, okay, I could maybe understand that. If he plays in the final week of the season, something has gone horribly wrong.
Yep. All right, let's get to the Bet365 picks here today. The Bet365 pick segment brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. He's staying hot. They boosted his numbers, no longer at 21.5. Now it's at 23.5. But I'm still going with it. He's been that good, averaging 28 this month, and it doesn't matter which team is opposite him. He's cooking everybody. So you might as well go with it with the 23.5 at 15 plus for Chet Holmgren tonight. Probably get a lot more touches on the offensive end. And let's see where it goes from here. That's a plus 130. And again, if you would like to add one more to that same game parlay to make it a 3-leg parlay, you get a 30% profit boost at Bet365. Also, with the 2 games tonight in the tournament, you can boost that one. If you decide to go on the college side, 30% profit boost on the college games tonight.
Who is playing
I think
tonight?
it's also NIT. Well, Texas plays later.
That's right.
Texas plays later, and American is playing right now. I can't remember who they're playing, but
by the way, I have a take. The auto clinch teams should not have to play in these fake games before the tournament. And what is the point of getting the auto bid if you're not in like the actual bracket, right? If you're a slash team in the bracket, that should be the non-qual or not the non-qual, the bubble teams like the North Carolinas, like North Carolina having to play last night made sense, right? The at-large bids. If you automatically qualify, you're not in these games.
You won your conference tournament. You're in. Yep. Why should you have to prove it again?
It drives me crazy.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. Mount St. Mary's 56-48 right now over American. And for our scouting purposes for Trey Johnson, Texas plays Xavier at 9-10 tonight in
Gotta
college
hope for
basketball.
a Texas win because I want Texas, Illinois in the worst way in round 1. That would be a fun one.
those two going at it, that'll be nice scouting purposes there. So again, those are our Bet365 picks. You can profit boost both college and the NBA at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, that'll do it for us. Do they keep this? Do they make this one a game like they did against Houston? Or will the backups for the OKC Thunder be too much for the Sixers?
To paraphrase the late Al Davis, just lose, baby.
There you have it. All right, for Derek, Kyle, Bree, I'm Devon. We'll be back after the game to talk about this one against the Thunder. We'll discuss it all a little bit later right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Enjoy the game.
We all silly like the mayor.